Pentatonix. What is good?
Yay!
I know you're excited about 2021 because you have this album on pre-ad right now on Apple Music, which you were just playing some music from, which sounds fantastic. And so I guess to bridge the gap and to give us something that, we really need in our life, you brought us another Christmas offering, which is really great. So congrats on that as well. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Can you remember the first conversation that ever happened amongst the original members of the group where you even discussed the idea of doing a holiday album?
I don't remember.
I think it just naturally happened. We had just come out with our first EP, and then it kind of naturally just fell into.
Yeah, and Christmas and acapella goes so well together, so I think it was just kind of like a no-brainer. But I don't remember the specific moment we decided. So there's a fun answer for you.
When it comes to choosing the curveballs that now are just Pentatonix classics, but like doing the Daft Punk, which you've spoken about many times, I'm sure, before. But at the beginning, when you're thinking about doing that, it makes sense when you hear you do it. But I guess when you think about it, you're like, wow, can we do that? I mean, that is like French, timeless, electro club music. How are we going to do that? You know what I mean? Like, how do you get to that point where you think, yeah, Daft Punk is fair game?
We're all really big fans of Daft Punk, and I think we recognize the influence that just runs so deep in almost every genre, and even so many pop stars work with them and are so influenced by them, and I think we just really wanted to get it right. So I remember that arrangement specifically taking a long time and being very detail-oriented and meticulous, because there's so much ground to cover when it comes to Daft Punk, I think.
When you first came out, everyone was just so drawn in by the chemistry and by the ability that you had to create music, and you took the idea of a vocal group to a whole other level. And there's sort of before Pentatonix and after Pentatonix. Now there's a lot more people trying things and using their voices in lots of different ways. But there must have been somewhat of a pressure, or I can only assume that there would have been a subliminal pressure for you to stay in a certain area, to be more performers than you are artists, in order to try to continue just to sort of walk that line. And I feel like you pivoted pretty quick out of there and we're like, no, we know what we're good at, but we also have something that we want to say. Was there a tug of war at any point there where you had to really wrestle for your own independence in order to be able to make your own creative decisions and not lean into someone else's?
100%. I mean, when we started, I think we focused on what was what we knew we could do extremely well, which was use our voices. And we weren't sure if we had anything to say until we finally got to 2015 and made that first album. And we realized, okay, that first original album was really hard to figure out what we wanted to say. And then I think from 2015 to 2020, when we started, obviously we have this new album called The Lucky Ones coming out. We all did individual projects that allowed us to think through what we individually like to think about and want to communicate, so that when we finally came in 2018 or 19, we were starting to write for this album, we were so much more clear on our feelings and what we spoke. And we knew ourselves much better, the things that we all individually had experienced and all collectively experienced as well, so that when we say the lucky ones, we feel that. We feel so lucky that in a world of, produced pop music, are very simplistic in the sense, because it's a naked voice sound, but the complexity of our arrangements could have a place here.
Oh Holy Night is the name of the song. Tori Kelly herself stepping into the holiday spirit and bringing music into our lives that we need at this moment in time. A really great human being, a caring human being with an incredible voice, someone who could easily hold someone's attention just with her voice as well. Has anybody got a Tori Kelly story they want to share with the world right now on Apple?
Oh my gosh, I definitely do. No, Scott, you will remember this. This is when she did the arrangement of
Don't Worry, Be Happy, Winter Wonderland.
Exactly,
Yeah.
And she came to the studio, and we just asked her to do some passes, and literally every take was perfect. It was the hardest time vocal comping I think we have ever had.
It's definitely the hardest vocal comp ever. I was like, can we release 4 versions of the song? Because she did something completely different every time, and it was so dope and so perfect.
One of the things that, you all identified pretty quickly, I think, was that, you used platforms to leverage, found your audience, and then recognized that the audience was loyal, and you could go and you could build your own boutique experience. Was that scary? Moving independent and deciding to do things more yourself?
After the show, we were so excited to have a record deal, and then they instantly dropped us, so we were independent. But we used YouTube to kind of grow an audience organically and connect with fans directly, and then got millions and millions and millions of subscribers pretty quickly, and that gave us leverage to have this amazing deal with RCA, who has been amazing. And it felt triumphant and amazing, and like to be question, because I remember in the meeting they were like, we just don't believe in this. We just really don't believe in this. This is like lame.
I also think that our relationship with the fans, it was very organic. It wasn't like let's make sure, I feel like everyone that had watched us in the sing-off, everyone that had reached out, we were also so grateful and young and thankful for all that they were doing and all the support that was given. So I feel like when we do that, when we do have the connection with the fans, it is incredibly natural. And that's why I feel like as a Pentatonix family, everyone, we are so connected and bonded.
I think winning the show was a moment for us, for sure. And then when YouTube was taking off, like our very first video, like 300,000 views in the first day, and we were like, oh, people connect with what we make, and YouTube is an amazing platform to showcase that. So let's make 1 million YouTube videos. And we're still going. And it's like 18 million subscribers or something now. So that was really just like that confirmation when we were going viral.
One of the few songs you can hear right now from a forthcoming album, which is due mid-February from Pentatonix, which is going to be a huge moment. I wonder about whether or not you've been waiting until February 2021, whether or not your plans changed, like everybody's did in 2020, and how that's affected the way you've moved forward with this album, and how this year has played into the idea of a new record at all.
I mean, it's funny, when we found out that we weren't able to go on to our Europe tour in March, we were kind of devastated because we hadn't been to Europe in such a long time. But, the good thing is that we had actually finished recording all the vocals before we were scheduled to go to Europe. So we said, let's take the time to actually finish this, mix it, master it. So it did afford us that time, and I'm thankful because now we are so unbelievably proud of this album. We feel like the lucky ones to be able to put this album out.
When you think about this album now, are there themes and feelings from this year that have formed some kind of subversive nature in the DNA of the record?
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, before even the pandemic and everything that's happened this year, the whole theme of the album was healing, overcoming something, self-acceptance. And then obviously the pandemic hit, and we all need to heal even more. And we're all going through these things. And so, I do think that everything going on helped us really tie a bow on the album.
What is the holidays for you? And in particular, how are we feeling this year?
I feel, because I've been anxious this whole year, I feel so grateful that we get this bus stop to take a break and experience the holidays and feel a little joy and have a little family time and before whatever next year brings.
Yeah.
This is a time for us all to work on our micro and what matters to us as individuals so that we can create greater self-awareness for the macro, right? And we can try to heal things on a much larger level. And I feel like if you can't be any more vulnerable than using your voice, which is what the whole world needs to do right now, that it must be, and I'll just say it, there must be moments when as Pentatonix you think are we going to have a moment here? Are we going to use our voices in a different way? Are we going to create a song or a moment or a concert or an event or something that allows us to unite our audience around something that we care about as a group? Has it crossed your mind? Have you talked about it?
We've definitely felt the weight of everything, and the fact that we're 5 very different individuals that can still come together and be one unit. I feel like that's the main thing we continuously try to represent as we put out music, that we can be very different, but it's not divisive. That's what's going on in this country. And it's kind of nice, honestly, I mean, if I may speak honestly, that everything kind of blew up in a way, because now you get to see the real hurt and that pain. And you have to figure out, like you said, what's the micro here that I need to think through so that when we come together, the healing is truly solidified rather than being kind of like a wobbly foundation. We need a real foundation. And I hope that we show that our foundation has been strong, even through the division that we have. Not division in that sense, but just the differences that we have. We need that.
What are you listening to right now? What's on your playlist right now?
Man, I don't know if I have an album, but I feel like a vibe. My dad's from Nigeria, so Afropop having its moment right now is so unbelievably important to me. So you got Wizkid, you got Thames, you've got just Burnout is killing right now. I'm so happy with his last album, and P. Diddy did his thing with it. And so I'm just like, that has been a vibe because there's so much joy in that music and he just does it so right.
Okay, let's go. What's left?
I just got engaged.
Yoo!
Hey, man, that's
So,
awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's really exciting. So we're like listening to Holy by Justin Bieber and Chance like on repeat. Dance around the house, everything, all that kind of thing. Like we're really just happy.
Sam Smith, To Die For. Love Goes, the album. Yeah, Kevin, that was you, huh?
Just his vocal on that, it's so nice. The record's so smooth, but when he says that lyric, I just want somebody to die for, I lose it every single time. I got married last year, so I'm on his same train, and just like I feel like I finally found that someone, and I can actually say that and be like, man, I felt it. Anything he does, any choice he does vocally is the right choice.